When you picture a tech billionaire, you usually think of the founders, right? The folks who started it all in a garage. But Tim Cook's story, it's completely different. He didn't found Apple, but he's a multi-billionaire. So today, let's dive into the pretty unique path of the executive who took the world's biggest company and somehow made it even bigger.
So where do we even begin to unpack his journey? Well, first, you gotta wrap your head around the sheer scale of his fortune. It's a number that puts him in a very, very exclusive club. As of late 2025, Tim Cook's estimated net worth is floating right around $2.5 billion. I mean, that's just a mind-blowing number for anyone, but it's especially fascinating for a CEO who wasn't there from the very beginning.
And that right there, that's the central puzzle of this whole thing, isn't it? If he's not a founder like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, where in the world did all that wealth come from? The answer really pulls back the curtain on a different side of Silicon Valley's money-making machine.
Okay, so to understand Cook's fortune, you have to kind of forget the typical founder story. Instead, we need to focus on the super complex world of modern executive compensation. It's a totally different playbook.
So look, there are really two very different roads to becoming a tech billionaire. On one side, you've got the founders, guys whose wealth just explodes because they owned a huge chunk of the company from day one. But then you've got Tim Cook. His path wasn't about that initial ownership at all. It was paved with salary, bonuses, and, this is the most important part, stock awards tied directly to how well he performed.
And that right there is the crucial difference. His wealth wasn't some big inheritance from a founding document. Nope. It was built systematically, piece by piece, year after year, as payment for leading Apple from the very top. All right, so let's actually break down what that compensation looks like because the numbers are pretty mind-boggling and they tell you a lot about what Apple really values.
Just take the year 2024, for example. His total reported compensation was almost $75 million for a single year. That alone is a fortune. But it's how that number is put together that's the real key.
Now, here's the crazy part. His base salary is actually just a tiny little sliver of his total pay, only about $3 million. The vast, vast majority, over $58 million, came directly from stock awards. This whole structure is designed to tie his personal success directly to the performance of Apple's stock. This is the engine that drives the whole thing: performance-based stock awards. It's a pretty simple but incredibly powerful deal the board makes with the CEO. It's basically, hey, if you deliver for our shareholders and make this company more valuable, we will make you unbelievably wealthy. It's the ultimate corporate carrot on a stick. So you see, this creates this incredible wealth engine with three core parts. It kicks off with those massive annual pay packages. Then it gets supercharged by those huge stock awards. And over time, all of this has allowed him to build up a holding of over 3.2 million Apple shares, giving him a massive personal stake in the company's future. But look, his paycheck is only half the picture. To really, truly grasp the scale of his wealth, we have to see it against the backdrop of Apple's almost unbelievable growth while he's been at the helm.
Think about this. When Cook took over in 2011, Apple was already a giant, worth under $400 billion. But by 2025, he had overseen its growth to over $3 trillion. He didn't just steer the ship, he turned it into an entire fleet. Okay, so keep that $3 trillion number in your head for a second, and then look at this. Less than 1%. What on earth could that possibly mean? It means that even with all those shares he's accumulated, Tim Cook owns a tiny, tiny fraction of the company he runs. This is the complete opposite of a founder like Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos, who might own 10, 15, maybe even 20% of their companies. And this is where it all clicks. This is the core lesson of Tim Cook's fortune. A small slice of a multi-trillion-dollar pie can be worth way, way more than a huge slice of a smaller one. At the end of the day, it was his impact on the company's value, not his initial ownership, that built his incredible wealth. But of course, the story isn't just about the numbers on a balance sheet. So let's talk for a second about the man himself and what his plans are for all this incredible wealth. I mean, can you imagine having to step into the shoes of an icon like Steve Jobs? That's a basically impossible task, yet Cook did it. And even though he's one of the most powerful executives on the planet, he's known for keeping a pretty low-profile private life. And he's also been very public about what he wants to do with his fortune.
He's on the record, loud and clear, saying he plans to give most of it away. It's a real shift in focus for his life's work, from accumulating wealth towards philanthropy and legacy. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. In the end, Tim Cook's story kind of pushes us to ask what really matters. Is a leader's legacy defined by the billions they add to a company and their own bank account, or is it about the broader impact they have on their industry and on the world they plan to give back to? It's a really good question to think about.